So I'm Benedict Parmanand. On behalf of my founding team, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to the inaugural edition of India's first Green Literature Festival. So from my experience of publishing and editing Sustainability Next e-magazine, I felt that there was a serious and urgent need to celebrate and promote India's rich body of environmental literature. Unfortunately, most of this literature does not find enough space in public discourse. I invited a few writer friends to join me in founding the Green Literature Festival and Dialogues. We had a soft launch in June 2021. We defined our purpose as to provide a platform and a forum for meaningful and deep conversations on environmental literature for authors and readers. Our mission is to mainstream green literature among students, teachers, entrepreneurs, business leaders, executives, and activists. You will agree that the current pandemic and the climate crisis requires societies to dig deep to find solutions. We have seen that despite grave dangers staring at us, we continue to hear clip talk and commitment to urgent action is inadequate. We realize that people can apply pressure on policymakers and businesses only if they read more. Accordingly, when we learn more, we do more. It will be GLF's endeavor to facilitate learning so that everyone does more than what they are doing today. We have put together a wide range of topics for conversations during the next 3 evenings. Day 1 focuses on green business writing, day 2 on green environmental writing, and day 3 on children's green writing. We have an excellent lineup of 30 Indian and international author speakers to entertain and educate us on topics on wide-ranging subjects. A hearty welcome to all our speakers. We have also put together GLF Honor Book Awards in the green business, green general, and the children categories through a robust process of public and jury ratings. Thanks to our jury. Finally, I'd like to thank my founding team, Megha Gupta, Pooja Bhula, and Debarati Ghosh, and our support team comprising Ganesh Kirti, Richa Chadda, and RK. Some of them worked through several bouts of fever and cold in the last few days. My team and I were pleasantly delighted to receive overwhelming support from everyone we reached out to in the last 6 months. I'd like to thank our advisors, Dr. Jairam Ramesh, Santosh Jairam, Zai Whitaker, Harini Nagendra, and Radhika Suri. We were also able to quickly stitch together several partnerships with top institutions. A big thank you to WWF India, the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI, India Climate Collaborative, ICC, and Association for the Study of Literature and Environment, ASLE. A big thank you to our main sponsor, the Habitat Trust. We had an excellent traction in social media so far and have healthy registration numbers 3 evenings for all the sessions. A big thank you to everyone who have joined us today. Thank you. Okay, so let me introduce. So I would say Santosh is a sustainability champion and a thought leader in India. He started a series of, writing a series of books as well, and they're called Still Speaking. So he already has the second volume, the first volume called The Lockdown Days, and the second Garden Chronicles. So you could tell us a bit about your writing journey of these books, Santosh.
Hello, everyone. Well, it's been a struggle to get through the cat flap, but it's a pleasure to be here.
No, wonderful to have you. Sorry for all the commotions which happened with the link, and good to have you here. So Benedict just kind of introduced about the Green Literature Festival to the audience, and maybe Benedict, you want to take over from there, and then I can join.
Yes. Thank you, John. Let's blame it on the Chinese for the technology glitch. Okay, so good to see you. Santosh is going to introduce you extensively later. I would just say that you're the guru of sustainability, and we'd like to hear later why you call yourself as the chief pollinator. But before that, we would like to hear a few words from you about the Green Literature Festival. Before I invite you to declare the Green Literature Festival open.
Thank you, Benedict. Can I just check that you can hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good. Well, firstly, it's a delight to be. That's a great honor. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, if I was launching a ship, I'd know I sort of have to take a bottle of champagne on the end of a rope and swing it. Whereas with a literature festival, I imagine I might sort of open a book or whatever. Just a couple of comments. I mean, I think like most people, my life has been surrounded by books since I was very, very young. And they've had a huge influence on me. And when you get older, it's very difficult to sort out what you would be if you hadn't been exposed to books, if you had not been exposed to literature. And I think it's one of the great gifts of a human life that we can actually access the minds and the thinking and the experience of authors around the world and through time. And I think the idea of focusing on the world of green literature is an interesting one. I sometimes wonder whether it mightn't knock out some of the things that are picking up on related themes, but that are not formally billed or labeled as green literature. And of course, literature has sort of fiction and it has non-fiction elements, and I've been absorbed in both. And one of the things I find most striking at this particular moment in time is that one particular part of fiction, which is science fiction, has suddenly been leaping forward. And I was recently at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow. It was the first climate summit I'd ever chosen to attend. And one of the people who was there speaking, and I heard speak, was Stanley Robinson, who's an extremely well-known science fiction author, American. And for those who haven't read his most recent book, which is called The Ministry for the Future, which had a huge impact in Glasgow, it starts in Uttar Pradesh with an extreme heat wave, wet bulb temperatures just off the scale, and people dying in their hundreds and thousands. So, India, in good ways and in bad, is featuring in literature of various different descriptions. And when I think about your country, which I visited many times over the years, and confess I love, I find it frustrating at times, but I love its culture, I love its history. Well, there are complicated elements of the history in which the British were certainly complicit. But when I think about Indian voices that I find interesting, one of the most persuasive I found has been Amitav Ghosh. And I started off reading his books like The Glass Palace and The Hungry Tide. But as many of you will know, he also wrote an astonishing piece of work around climate change itself, called The Great Derangement. So it was non-fiction. And there are people who I regularly go back to. A good friend in Mumbai would be Rajni Bakshi, and she's written about Gandhi's life in books like Bapu Kuti. There are people like Arundhati Roy with various books, but with a central theme of campaigning, activism, and so on. And I just want to sort of pull this towards some sort of conclusion. I do think this is an extraordinary moment in green literature, because the issues that are sort of under that green label are becoming mainstream in a way that they really haven't been for a very long time. And that inflects children's books, children's literature. And when I think about some of the early books that I read that had a huge influence on me, Rudyard Kipling is not much appreciated these days because of its imperial views. But nonetheless, The Jungle Book was a very rare book when I was young, in the sense that it looked at the world through the eyes of wild animals. You know, it might be a mongoose or whatever it might be. And so I think I owe a debt of gratitude to people like Kipling, the authors of books like Wind and the Willows and so on. And I think many people who came into the environmental space came in having read that sort of literature. I think we're just at the beginning of an explosion of green literature. So the launch of your festival is very well timed. I suppose my final point would be, let's be very careful about what we understand when we use the word green. If you think of the Indian flag, there are 4 colors. One of those is green, but it isn't the whole flag. And I think we have to be very careful not to sort of say only green literature is good, everything else is bad, because in many ways, the rest of literature has environmental themes, human rights themes, and so on, shot through it. And we've just seen the launch of the science fiction film Dune, which to my mind is one of the most important green novels ever written. But it's not understood to be green. It's just the best science fiction novel ever written, in my view. So, Benedict, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words to celebrate the launch of the festival. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation with Santosh.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. I think you will have to do the honor of declaring the festival open. So there's a button that you need to press. You're wondering how to launch a green literature festival. So we have come up with something that you like. MC, can you just yeah, so
music, which I was enjoying, but my apologies if I hit the wrong button or the right button the wrong way.
That was right timing. So thank you to Debarati for making this happen. Gizmo, whatever we'd like to call it, but it was a good reveal